main trimmer trims the mainsail for the best speed and tactics. The main trimmer is the throttle of the boat and affects the speed, pointing ability, and steering. He's in constant communication with the head sail trimmer and helmsman to keep both sails in the same trim mode, maintain a balanced sail plan, and keep the boat going on the right heading and speed. Great mainsail trimmers are like catchers in baseball, calling the game and getting the best out of the helmsman and jib trimmer. The main trimmer is responsible for all tools and the work area associated with the job. Check that the main is in good working order and securely connected on all three corners, with the halyard, clew, and tack shackles taped or wire tied. Check that all the battens are secured and at the proper tension if adjustable. For full-length top battens, err on the tighter side if you're unsure. Outhauls should also have a safety strap attached for extra insurance. Go over the main sheet system and all control lines, making sure everything is in working order and that you're familiar with how they work. Check with whoever will be adjusting the control lines that you won't, such as the outhaul, Cunningham, and Vang, so you know who to work with during the race. Before racing with the boat trimmed into full speed upwind, mark the settings of the outhaul, Cunningham, Vang, backstay, traveler, and even the sheet tension if it's possible, so they can be repeated after the start. Secure the traveler in its starboard tack upwind position so it's preset for the start. In the pre-start, the main should be trimmed for full speed at all times unless called for otherwise. In general, set up for more power to compensate for the disturbed air and keep the vang slightly looser than normal, which will help when slowing down at crucial moments. Don't block the helmsman's view. Try to anticipate his needs and be a second pair of eyes on the line. Be prepared for a fast ease or trim to bear off or head up quickly, especially on the final approach. If the main sheet system has a fine tuner, make sure it's completely eased until final trim. In a good start, the boat is up to full speed upwind at the gun. Upwind, the main trimmer is literally driving the boat with the helmsman by keeping the boat balanced with the same heel angle in the puffs and lulls and making sure the helmsman has the right amount of helm, all of which keeps the boat at full speed and pointing. The main trimmer must anticipate any change in conditions and adjust the sheet and traveler for minor wind changes, and the backstay, Vang, Cunningham, and outhaul for major wind changes. When attack is called, trim the main in as the boat heads up. In light air, pull the traveler all the way up as well. Just before the boat reaches head to wind, uncleat the traveler, switch sides, and pull it all the way to its new upwind setting on the next tack. Then as the boat begins to load up, ease the main to allow the boat to accelerate out of the tack. Once the speed bottoms out and begins to build, start to trim the main back in. The goal is to be trimmed in all the way to final trim as the boat reaches full speed. The main trimmer is also involved with tactics by helping call approaching starboard tackers in clock, the other boat's location relative to yours, and distance and boat lengths. It's critical to make this call well in advance and to alert the entire crew of any possible maneuver, such as attack or duck. For a duck, the main trimmer needs to be absolutely sure the sheet is out of the cleat and clear to run with no obstructions. In breeze, it's also important that the vang is eased as well, and if it's a hard duck, the main ease should be well ahead of the turn to prevent the rudder from stalling. For a quick tack, more ease will be necessary to get the boat back up to speed. When approaching the windward mark, double check that the main can easily run out and that the vang is set for downwind. As the boat bears away, drop the traveler and ease the main out as fast as the helmsman turns. In breeze, stay just ahead of his turning rate so the rudder never stalls. Whatever the conditions, be sure the boom will clear the windward mark. Once on the downwind course, ease the backstay, Cunningham, and outhaul to their downwind settings. Then center the traveler and cleat it so your trim will be the same jive to jive. A tack set is the same as a bearaway set, except you may not need to pull the traveler up out of the tack. The priority is getting the main out to help the boat head downwind, and possibly being a second set of hands in this set. A jibe set requires executing the bearaway, making sure the main goes out, and then jibing the main during the spinnaker hoist. Again, the main trimmer can be an extra set of hands for the set if needed after the jibe. Downwind, the apparent wind on the main is much lighter, so trimming requires a sensitive feel. In light air, it's often best to trim the main by holding all parts of the sheet system and trimming and easing without the purchase. To do this, over-ease the sheet so you can hold it directly in your hands while working with the helmsman to take advantage of every change in pressure, waves, or course. In heavy air, trim the sheet normally, as less sensitivity and more mechanical advantage is required. When a jibe is called in light air, ease the sheet out as the boat bears away. Once the boat passes dead downwind, pull all parts of the sheet in by hand to start the boom inboard. As the boom passes centerline, pay the sheet out, keeping pressure in the sail. Coming out of a jibe in light air, the course will be higher than going in, so the main should match it by being further out before the jibe and further in right after. As the boat reaches full speed, ease the main back out to normal trim. In heavy air, use the full purchase for trimming and get a head start on the trim before the jibe. Once the boom crosses centerline, immediately pay out the sheet to its downwind position. It also helps to give the main a pump out of the jibe just as it fills to help the boat accelerate. In light air, a pump will also help pop an inverted battery. When approaching the leeward mark for a windward or leeward drop, the same steps apply. Begin by setting the backstay, outhaul, Cunningham, and Vang back to their upwind positions before the jib is raised. Preset the Traveler for its upwind port tack position, and make sure the main blocks aren't twisted, the fine tune is all the way eased, and all parts of the sheet system are clear to be trimmed in. Start your trim just before the helmsman heads up. As the boat turns around the mark, pull the sheet in as fast as possible, using full arm pulls, staying just ahead of the helmsman's rate of turn to help get the boat on the wind quickly. The main should be trimmed all the way in and the boat at full speed just as it reaches close haul. For a jibe drop, the main is set up the same as on other drops, except that during the jibe, don't pull the main across with all parts of the sheet. Instead, overhaul the sheet through the blocks so that you're already trimming the sail in as the boat rounds the mark. Here are a few time-tested tricks of the trade for main trimmers. Tie the tails of the Traveler and other control lines to the rail by attaching them to a stanchion or lower lifeline for easy access without having to leave the rail. If the main sheet is on a continuous system, adjust the self-tail or strippers so that the port one faces inboard and the starboard one faces forward. This way the sheet can be uncleated with one hand without having to reach over the whole winch, and it can easily be recleated. If the sheet system is led back to winches but is not continuous, leave more sheet tail on the starboard side so it won't bottom out when you ease it at the windward mark. Tie off the main halyard so the sail will stay up if the cleat fails. Mark every fast setting for each control line in different wind conditions so they can easily be repeated, and keep a log of what sail settings were the fastest. The main trimmer makes or breaks the game, so the most important thing to remember is to anticipate the trim and keep a good dialogue with the helmsman and the jib trimmer.